I actually had a Plex Science, which is my experimentation series, video planned for today, and Plex just pushed out a really awesome update that they're scheduling for today when you're watching this, and I wanted to tell you about it because they're updating the UI on mobile to make it more content focused, which is exciting because it actually turns out really cool, and we now have podcasts. I am super stoked to show you this. Let's get into it. Useful tech education and gaming nostalgia that won't put you to sleep. Get subscribed and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next guide. As always, this is a sponsored Plex tutorial as part of an ongoing monthly program. The UI redesign on mobile is exciting, and we will get to that in just a second, but we're going to start with podcasts because typically if I'm going to search for and set up some podcasts, I'm going to do so from my desktop computer, which is what we're seeing right here. So over in my Plex Media Player web UI here, I do have now the podcast beta option, and they have most commonly syndicated podcast feeds. And if you don't see a feed, or if you can't find the podcast you're looking for, you can actually manually add it by URL here. This is also doable on mobile, and you just paste the URL of the podcast feed that you're looking for. However, most of them should be here. So for example, I listen to the Tim Ferriss Show, and so I can go ahead and pop up an episode. If I want to go ahead and listen to it, it's going to queue it up and start playing automatically, which is pretty cool. And go ahead and pause that. I can skip forward, the usual playback controls, and then I can add it to my podcast, which is going to add it to my feed and automatically ping me for new episodes and what they call on deck for podcasts. And if I go back, it's going to recommend me some more and start recommending me based on what is popular, and then eventually based on what I am viewing. Popular is among other Plex users and things like that. So Gary V audio experience, used to watch a lot of Gary V. I'll add it. I'm probably listening through his podcast sometime soon. Over here on the left, you will notice a personalized setting. There you can adjust the playback speed of the podcast, which is actually really useful for me because I very much like listening to podcasts at 1.5 times speed. That's how I watch YouTube videos too. When you're looking at a specific podcast, you have another settings code here. You get to mark as played, or if you click settings, you can sort oldest or newest first. I actually like sorting by oldest first, so I get caught up in relative chronological order given where I started. And then you can adjust the playback speed per podcast as well. I have a super early access to beta, so this will probably be working by the time you see this, but you get the idea. You can play all, you can add it to queue, and if we go back here to the Tim Ferriss Show, we can do the same thing. We can mark them as played, we can change the viewing order oldest first, and I can change the playback speed. Wham! And so that will save every time this plays. But what's really cool is when we start coming over to mobile. So first and foremost, of course, you do have this. You have my podcasts, which is going to show the ones you've added. If we go back, you have categories for podcasts to help you narrow them down. I'm not seeing a search box. Hopefully that gets added somewhere here soon. Again, I do have early access to a beta. I want to view technology podcasts. There is a lot. Oh, hey, look at that. If you do wish to search for a specific podcast, that is up here at the top. That looks like your normal library searching, but it will actually search podcasts themselves. So here we found the WAN Show podcast from Linus Tech Tips, and I will go ahead and add that to my podcast as well. So once you've added some shows, it will show up in On Deck, the ones that you've specifically added, or just keep recommending you some podcasts. Let's jump on over to mobile now. Now pulling up the Plex app on mobile here, you can see things are already starting to look ever so slightly different. You will see where it says continue watching. It actually identifies the source of the files that you're looking at, which is hugely important because with this new UI thing, you can actually integrate files from different sources. Now my primary Plex server is offline at the moment, so this is going to be a little difficult, but I'm actually going to get rid of recently added TV, remove from home screen, recently added movies, remove from home screen, and we'll leave that. But we get to start adding things to our home screen. So you see that where it says reorder home screen here, we can change which order these things are in. If I drag continue watching below On Deck, that seems to make more sense for me because On Deck are things that I need to watch still. If you navigate to a specific library share, for example, I'm in TV shows on my NAS Plex server, you can actually add a category of media to your home screen. So for example, recently aired TV, I click the three dots and go to add to home. That adds it to my home screen. for me to then reorder and mess around with. So typically on a mobile device, you're probably looking at music and podcasts mostly, but you get a little bit of options here. And then if you click the more dots at the bottom where you see you have 4 basically pillars of content that you want to see, and then hit edit at the top, you can then reorder what those next 3 icons are. So again, for a mobile device, you want home, music. Actually, I'm going to put podcasts first because I don't listen to a whole lot of music on my TV or on my phone. And then we'll go to photos next. Yeah, that'll work. And then I hit done. And now you can see my bottom row here is reordered. So we have podcasts, music, and this is set from Plex Cloud, which I will have to adjust because I actually don't have a Plex media library turned on at the moment for music. So then the podcast interface here on the phone looks pretty similar, but now I can come to my on deck podcast, which are something I'm very much going to focus on, hit the 3 dots and add that to my home screen, come over here to home, and I definitely want that at the top. So I'm gonna hit reorder home screen and put that at the very top. That is what I care about the most. And now every time I pull up the Plex app, it's going to say, or it's gonna have my on deck podcast. Now what I find even cooler is they have also added for the first time, and this is supposedly an exclusive feature of any of these software pretty much, is you can now cross-platform keep track of where you are in your podcast, which is super important for me. And a reason that I never listen to podcasts on mobile anymore these days is because I lose track on my phone. I don't have a proper podcast app on my phone. But if I start playing WAN Show on my smartphone and skip around here to 1350, it's playing, hit pause. Okay. Then I come over here on the computer, go to podcasts, come over here to the WAN Show, I can resume exactly where it left off. So then if I'm playing that, I jump around a bit, I hit pause, close out of it, go back home, come back onto my phone. We'll go back a couple times here. WAN Show is going to pick back up from where my computer left off, which is really neat. Now, it has all of the proper metadata, show notes, graphics, whatever the podcast would support, and that also gets loaded if you add a custom URL. If you do need to add a custom podcast URL on mobile, when you're scrolling through the feed here at the very bottom is add podcast by URL. Then you can paste it there if for whatever reason you're doing it on mobile. But then you have all the categories, you have the recommended podcasts, and you can go through them and even click the 3 dots. You can start playing it, you can shuffle it, you can add to queue, or you can add to my podcasts. This is a really cool design on the whole. I'm really excited to honestly get back into podcasts. I've kind of been putting them off for a while because I didn't like how Stitcher was working, and I just didn't like not being able to manage it back and forth between my computer and the way I was handling it before. So this integration is really neat, as well as the new UI design. So overall, I am super happy with this Plex update. If you want to check it out for yourself, of course, I will have the blog post from the Plex blog linked in the video description. If you don't have Plex yet, I have affiliate links which give a small kickback to the channel and let them know that I am worth sponsoring. So click it if you want to sign up for free, click it if you want to buy a Plex Pass, or which I have covered in the past what the benefits are, or if you want to buy a Plex Pass for someone else, I have a link for that as well. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, get subscribed for more awesome tech tips. I'm EposVox, here to make tech easier and more fun, and I will see you next time.